Was this really just a simple mistake, or is there something much deeper going on here? You have to wonder when you see the absolute chaos unfolding in Genoa City this week. It feels like every single legacy in town is hanging by a thread, and honestly, I am here for the drama. We aren't just talking about a few spoilers today. We are looking at the total potential collapse of the Newman and Abbott families.
Why?
Because two women in this town simply refuse to follow the rules. In today's deep dive, we're going to get into the mind games Phyllis Summers is playing and the psychological mess Patty Williams is about to unleash. This is high-stakes stuff, and it feels like a collision course that nobody can stop. Let's start with that trap over at the office. The air at Summers' conglomerate is probably thick with desperation right now. Phyllis Summers is operating at a level of unhinged that, even for her, is pretty impressive. She lured Matt Clark to her office using a voicemail that is basically a masterclass in how to manipulate someone. She didn't just ask for a meeting. She told him she has feelings for him. Now, think about that for a second. Is she actually falling for him? No way. This is all about leverage. Phyllis has lost her grip on the situation now that Patty has interfered. She is scrambling to be the one holding the puppet strings again. Psychologically, Phyllis just can't handle being a victim. She has to be the architect of the situation, even if she's building a house of cards that is totally destined to fall. When you look at her internally, she's probably vibrating with a mix of terror and triumph. She knows she's one wrong move away from a jail cell, especially after she knocked Matt out with a steel picture frame and tied him up earlier. She calls that impulsive protection, which is such a Phyllis thing to say. In my opinion, she's started believing her own lies. She really sees herself as Matt's savior instead of his kidnapper. It's wild, right? It's a double cross inside a triple cross. This isn't just an office anymore. It's a stage where Matt is just a prop she's using to bargain for immunity with Victor Newman. I honestly find it hard to feel bad for her here. Using a man's amnesia to trap him romantically is low, even for Red. She's preying on a guy who literally doesn't know who he is. That is predatory behavior, and the show really needs to call her out on it. Then we have Matt Clark himself. Roger Howarth is playing this with such a haunting vulnerability. You almost forget that Matt Clark is responsible for some of the most horrible things in the history of the show. He's confused, and he's wearing a wedding ring he doesn't understand. He's looking for a version of himself that might not even exist anymore. This is that classic clean slate trope we see in soaps. Amnesia is never just a medical thing in soapland. It's a thematic reset button. Right now, Matt is experiencing a total ego death. Without his memories of being a drug kingpin or a rapist, he actually has a conscience. When he pulls back from a kiss because he remembers a vague version of his wife's face, it shows his core identity is fighting the lies Phyllis is feeding him. He wants to be a good person because the alternative is just too much to handle. But honestly, I don't think this good guy act can last. His past is like a freight train you can't stop. Eventually, those memories will come back, and the clash between the decent man and the villain is going to lead to a psychological break that will be terrifying to watch. While Phyllis is busy at the office, we have Patty Williams over at the Newman ranch. She drops a bombshell that has Victor Newman literally laughing in her face. She wants to be the next Mrs. Jack Abbott. Can you imagine the nerve? This is a woman who has shot Jack on 2 different occasions. She's poisoned people, and now she thinks she's the key to his happiness. This isn't just a wedding plan. It's a sign of how deep her trauma and obsession go. Patty defines herself through Jack. In her mind, the violence she did to him was just a medical emergency, or something she can just move past. She's completely disconnected her actions from the consequences. I think she's feeling a desperate need to be redeemed. She wants Victor to tell the world she's changed. But underneath that, she's incredibly insecure. She thinks if she can get Jack back, it proves she was never the villain. This is textbook erotomania. She has this delusional belief that Jack loves her, even though he literally trashed the flowers she sent him. She sees his rejection as just a hurdle. When he tells her to stay away, she hears "try harder." Victor laughing at her was probably the most honest moment in the whole episode. Even Victor can see how absurd this redemption is. Patty is a walking time bomb. The fact that she's even walking the streets of Genoa City shows that the psychiatric system there has totally failed. It's honestly scary. Now let's look at the collateral damage because there is a lot of it. Nick Newman is spiraling hard. He's addicted to fentanyl, and it's making him completely unhinged. He's dropping pill bags in coffee shops and then lying straight to his sister's face. Why is he doing this? Well, think about the pressure of being a Newman. The hunt for Matt Clark has pushed him over the edge. The drugs are the only thing making him feel calm in a world that is always screaming at him. There is a deep, hidden pain in Nick right now. He feels like a failure as a dad, a son, and a businessman. When he collapses in front of everyone later this week, it won't just be a medical thing. It will be his body literally giving out from the emotional stress. The real toxin in his system isn't just the drugs. It's Victor's refusal to stop his war with Phyllis. Victor cares more about being right than he does about his son's health. Then we have the drama between Billy and Adam. This feels so cruel. Billy is gloating to Adam about Sally Spector being pregnant. Billy has decided he's the main character, and Adam's feelings don't matter. But Adam is hurting. He's thinking about the little girl he lost with Sally, baby Ava. Billy is acting out of total insecurity. He needs to rub this win in Adam's face because he knows Adam and Sally have a connection he can't touch. It's a total power struggle, and they are using a baby as a trophy. Billy loves to act like he's the better man, but he's just as manipulative as any Newman. He's weaponizing a pregnancy to score points in a corporate feud, and it's honestly gross. Back at the office, things are hitting the breaking point. Victor and Nick show up and find Phyllis with Matt. Phyllis thought she could negotiate with Nick alone, but Victor isn't letting that happen. This is Victor's checkmate moment. He has the leverage, and he's going to use it to finish Phyllis once and for all. He doesn't see Matt as a human being. Matt is just a weapon to him. I think Phyllis really messed up here. She thought she could play Nick against his dad, but Victor always finds a way to win. It's satisfying to watch him corner her, but you have to wonder what it's going to cost everyone else. This office isn't just a trap for Matt anymore. It's a trap for Phyllis's soul. She's traded her integrity and her daughter's safety just to stay ahead of Victor. So, what happens next? The fallout is going to be huge. First, there's the Patty and Jack situation. Patty's SOS call is probably a setup for another kidnapping. She isn't done with him. Her rehabilitated act is just a cover for her most dangerous plan yet. She's going to try to force a marriage on a man who is disgusted by her. Then there is the question of Matt Clark. Can he really be redeemed? If the show wants to keep Roger Howarth around, they might try a heroic sacrifice. Maybe he saves Nick during his overdose. But if his memories come back too fast, it's going to be a bloodbath. He's too good of a villain to stay nice forever. And finally, the Newman intervention. The family will try to help Nick, but the cracks are too deep. Victor's obsession with Matt Clark is going to keep tearing the family apart. I want to hear what you guys think about all this. Do you believe Matt Clark can actually be a good person now that he has amnesia? Or is he just a monster at his core? Is Phyllis finally at the end of her rope, or will she find one more way to trick Victor? And what about Jack? Should he even give Patty the time of day, or is she just too dangerous? Leave a comment and let's talk about it. If you liked this deep dive into the mess that is Genoa City, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. We are getting into the really painful part of the season, and you do not want to miss it. To really get why everyone is so on edge, you have to look at Patty's history. She has left a trail of victims over the years that is honestly terrifying. This isn't just soap drama. It's a pattern of serial violence. Back in the 80s, she shot Jack 3 times because he cheated on her. Now she's Team Jack, but it's the same obsessive behavior. Think about being Jack Abbott. You're just trying to get a coffee, and the woman who shot you at the altar is telling you that you're meant to be together. It's soul-crushing. Every time she smiles, he must be thinking about that gun. Patty's violence always happens when she feels like she's being abandoned. That's why her wedding plan is so scary. She's in the obsessive love phase, but we all know the violent rejection phase is coming next. I think the show sometimes treats her like she's just quirky. But let's not forget she tried to kill Summer with a peanut cookie. She is a predator, and this redemption arc feels like an insult to everyone she hurt. Now, Let's talk about the Roger Howarth factor with Matt Clark. The reason we are even having this debate is because he is just too charismatic to lose. The writers know what they're doing. They've done this with his characters on other shows like Todd Manning and Franco. Using a brain injury to erase a character's crimes is a classic move. It gives him a get-out-of-jail-free card. But it creates this weird dynamic for us as viewers. We are being asked to root for a guy who has done terrible things just because he has a new brain. Can you really hold someone responsible for something they don't remember? I think you have to. Amnesia doesn't bring back the people he hurt or fix the lives ruined by his drug ring. While I love the acting, a full redemption for Matt Clark feels like a mistake. He needs to face the music. And we can't forget about Diane Jenkins. While Jack is busy planning his revenge on Victor and Patty, Diane has gone missing. Kyle is panicking because she hasn't been home or to the office in 2 days. This disappearance is the perfect chance for Patty to make her move. If Diane is gone, Patty thinks she has a clear path to Jack. Did Patty make her disappear? It wouldn't surprise me. Jack is so focused on revenge that he's missing the fact that his wife is in real danger. Tracy is right. Revenge is a poison. Jack's obsession might cost him everything. This week is really about 3 master manipulators crashing into each other. Victor wants total control. Phyllis wants to be the hero of her own mess. And Patty wants a love that only exists in her head. As they all meet at that office, who is even going to be left standing? It feels like the whole town is about to explode. Seriously though, what are your wildest theories? Is Matt Clark really cured? Or is it all an act? Is Patty going to actually get Jack to the altar? And is Nick going to survive his addiction? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single twist. We are covering everything as we head into what looks like a very explosive June. I'll see you in the next video. Now, if we look closer at the history, you see how deep these roots go. Patty didn't just target Jack. She went after his therapist, Emily Peterson, and literally stole her face with plastic surgery. She knocked Emily out and took her place at the wedding. That is some next-level villainy. And then there was Colleen Carlton. Patty took her hostage and Colleen ended up drowning. This is the woman who now says she's rehabilitated and wants to give Jack a tour of a yacht in exchange for a kiss. It's creepy. It's predatory. And the fact that she's using her mental health history as a shield is really something. Then you have Matt Clark's list of crimes. Phyllis literally read them out to him. Attempted murder, rape, kidnapping, running a fentanyl ring. Mal is appalled, but is that enough? He says he doesn't want his memories back because he doesn't want to be a villain. That sounds like he has a conscience now, but it doesn't change the past. If the showrunners want him to stay, they have to deal with the arrest warrant out for him. Maybe he goes to Fairview, the same place Patty and Sharon have been. Can you imagine Matt and Nick in rehab together? The guy who sold the drugs and the guy who got addicted to them? That would be absolutely wild. And let's talk about that heroic sacrifice idea again. That is such a soap staple. If Matt saves someone important, like Nick or Sharon, the town might actually forgive him. They did it with Todd Manning on One Life to Live, when he saved a woman he had hurt. They did it with Franco on General Hospital, with a brain tumor excuse. It seems like Josh Griffith is a fan of Roger Howarth, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a redemption story start to take shape. It's a controversial move, but it keeps a great actor on the screen. But what does this mean for the rest of the town? If Matt is redeemed, what happens to the victims? What happens to Sharon, who he hurt so badly in the past? It's a complicated mess, and honestly, that's why we love this show. It makes us question our own ideas about justice and forgiveness. So, as we watch Nick collapse and Phyllis lose her leverage and Patty make her move, remember that everyone in this town is playing a very dangerous game. One wrong move, and it's all over. Thanks for sticking with me through this deep dive. Make sure you comment below with your thoughts on the Matt Clark redemption and whether you think Patty is truly gone for good this time. I have a feeling she's just getting started.
See you next time.
Was this really just a simple mistake, or is there something way deeper going on here? That is the question on everyone's mind this week as Genoa City prepares for a collision course that feels both inevitable and totally terrifying. We aren't just looking at a few random spoilers today. We are looking at the potential total collapse of the Newman and Abbott legacies. All of this is happening because of two women who simply refuse to play by the rules. In today's deep dive, we are dissecting the mind games of Phyllis Summers and the absolute psychological chaos being unleashed by a supposedly rehabilitated Patty Williams. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How did things get this messy so fast? Well, think about it. Let's start at the office, where the air is thick with desperation and probably the scent of some really expensive perfume. Phyllis Summers is currently operating at a level of unhinged that would make her younger self blush. She has lured Matt Clark to Summers' conglomerate using a voicemail that is the ultimate masterclass in manipulation. She didn't just ask him to meet. She actually told him she has feelings for him. Now, why did she do this? It's not about love. It's all about leverage. Phyllis has lost her grip on the situation now that Patty has interfered, and she is scrambling to reclaim her status as the person holding the strings. Psychologically, Phyllis cannot handle being the victim. She has to be the architect of the situation, even if that means building a house of cards that is destined to fall. Internally, she's probably vibrating with a mixture of terror and triumph. She knows she's one wrong word away from a prison cell, especially after previously knocking Matt out with a steel picture frame and tying him up. In my opinion, this is classic Phyllis. She believes her own lies so thoroughly that she genuinely sees herself as Matt's savior rather than his kidnapper. Think about the irony here. She is protecting a man from the very people she is currently texting to come and get him. Reframe the situation for a second. This isn't an office. It's a stage. Matt is just a prop she's using to negotiate her own immunity with Victor Newman. Honestly, I find it hard to feel bad for Phyllis here. Using a man's amnesia to manipulate him into a romantic trap feels particularly low, even for Red. She is preying on a man who literally doesn't know who he is. That is a level of predatory behavior that the show needs to address more head-on. Don't you think? As Matt enters the office, we see a man who is a shell of his former villainous self. Roger Howarth is playing this with a haunting vulnerability. It almost makes you forget that Matt Clark is responsible for some of the most heinous acts in the history of the show. He's confused. He's wearing a wedding ring he doesn't understand. He's looking for a version of himself that might not actually exist. This is the ultimate clean slate trope. Amnesia on a soap is rarely just a medical condition. It's a thematic reset button. Matt is currently experiencing a total ego death. Without his memories of being a drug kingpin or a rapist, he is left with a functional conscience. That is something the real Matt Clark never possessed. When Matt pulls back from a kiss because he remembers a vague version of his wife's face, it shows that his core identity is struggling. He wants to believe he's a good person. The alternative is just too much for his current psyche to bear.